Good morning to a brand new day. Time to learn and games to play. Learning things is so much fun. Learning is good for everyone.
Good morning, boys and girls. My name is Mrs. Vang, and I'm so excited to have you join me so that we can make our brain, that's right, stronger. So this week is a little bit different because this week we are going to be focusing on grammar and writing, because all those couple weeks ago we have been focusing on blending and learning how to read. Now we're going to use all that skill and add them this week because we're going to focus on writing. So I have another great book to share with you. This is a book called Ralph Tells a Story by Abby Hanlon. And this is a book about a little boy named Ralph. And guess what? Every day when it's time to write, Ralph can't think of anything, and his paper's always blank. He's always staring at the ceiling, he's staring on the floor, he's staring everywhere because he can't think of anything. Does that sound familiar? How many of you feel the same way Ralph does when it comes to writing? Good, I see some me too. You're right, writing is hard, but guess what? With the help of his friends, he realized that writing can be about the small things, and then he learns to write, and you will too. So try to find this book at your Fresno County Library or on Sora. And speaking of Sora, let's reveal the top schools for checkout. Yesterday we said Baird was in 5th place, and I forgot to do their cheer, so I'm going to quickly do their steak cheer. So if you're doing this with me, here's my steak cheer. We put the steak on the grill, we test it. Well done. So well done, Baird. Today, coming in 4th place is, let's see if it's your school, Buhler Talent. Good job, Buhler Talent. And Buhler Talent is a K-8 school. Awesome job, Buhler Talent. And today, you guys get my fabulous spray cheer. So ready? We're going to get our spray. We're going to spray it. And then we're going to wipe, and we're going to say, fabulous job. Good job, Baird. Good job, Buhler Talent. You guys are doing an awesome job. Come back tomorrow to see who's in the 3rd spot. Now, this week, remember, we are focused on our grammar. So we have been talking about nouns. Remember, nouns are person, place, things, or animals and ideas. You're right. Today, we're going to be focusing on singular nouns and plural nouns. And singular nouns just means one, right? When we're talking about one thing. A plural noun is when we talk about more than one thing. Person, place, or thing, right? So if it's a singular noun, we leave it alone, right? But for plurals, it gets trickier because there's all of these, what I like to call rules, when we're adding that S to make it plural. So most of the time, we just add an S. And when we add that S, it means there's more than one person, place, or thing, right? Here's my noun, book. Book is singular, that's one. What word makes it more than one? You're right, I just add the S. Book becomes books. Singular noun, plural noun, books. Here's my next example, dog. Singular noun. And how do I make it plural? Add the S, dogs. Good job. Now, but if your word ends with an S, a double S, that's 2S, a CH, an SH, or an X, guess what? To make it plural, now we have to add an ES. You're right. So let's look at my example. Bus, singular noun. How do I make it plural? Remember, it ends with an S. And remember, we can't just add another S. We need to add in ES, bus, buses. You see how I changed it? Buses, buses. Now here's my word dish. Dish is a singular noun, but to make it plural or means more than one, remember my rule? It has an SH at the end. So I need to add in ES. You're right, dishes. One dish, many dishes, right? Now, there are some more rules. Now, if your word or your noun ends with a Y, we have a new rule for that one to make it plural. Now, we can't just add an S because there's a Y there. So the rule is we change that Y to an I and we add ES. So here's my example. Baby, one baby, singular noun. Many babies. You see what I did? I had to change the Y to an I and I added ES. Look at my next word, candy. Singular noun, one candy. But if I wanted to make it more than one, it becomes good, candies. What did I do? I changed that Y. Remember, there used to be a Y there. We changed it to an I and we add ES, candies. But here's a tricky one. Here's the word toy. Toy, and that's a singular noun, right? Toy. But am I going to change the Y and add an ES? And this is where it gets tricky because in toy, the rule is that if there's a vowel before the Y, we just add an S. I know, they are tricky, boys and girls. So one toy, many toys. Can you remember that? When there's a vowel, because here's my vowel, that's an O, before the Y, we just leave it alone. And then another rule, if a word ends with an F or an FE, remember that silent E? We have to change the F and the FE, we drop it and we change it, or we change it from an F or an FE to a V, and then we add ES. So here's my word leaf, one leaf, singular noun, many leaves. You see what I did there? I dropped the F, or I changed the F into a V, and I added ES. Leaves, one leaf, many leaves. And here's my word knife, right? One knife, there's my FE, change it to a, good job. We change it to a V, and then we add ES. One knife, many knives. Oh, I know that was a lot of rules to remember, boys and girls. So as you're writing and you're writing these plural or nouns, make sure that you're following these rules so that you're writing them correctly, okay? And then another thing that we're gonna focus on, let me move this out of the way, is commas in a series. We practiced this just a little bit yesterday, but remember, commas are used to separate 3 or more words in a series. So if I have the sentence, he grew tomatoes, cabbage, and carrots, remember, if you're using words in a series in your writing, you'll want to separate it with a comma. So he grew tomatoes, cabbage, and carrots. So those are my 3 words. So I need a comma after tomatoes and a comma after cabbage, okay? Let's read the next sentence. It says, did the boy live in the mountains, village, or city? And I'm asking you a question. So if you have that type of writing in your writing or type of sentence in your writing, don't forget we're listing 3 things. We're asking if he lives in the mountain, in the village, or in the city. So we need to add a comma, you're right, to separate my word or my words in a list. Did the boy live in the mountains, village, or city? And as you're reading, you notice how your voice naturally paused a bit? That's because we needed a comma. So these grammar lessons are going to be used in your writing. So remember, when you're writing and if you're listing things, don't forget your commas. If you're writing plural nouns, don't forget all of those rules. Remember this week, we are writing, what are we writing? Do you remember? Good, personal narrative. Remember how we talked about that a personal narrative was a story about you're right. And it's gonna focus on a small moment. So we're gonna be using words like I, me, my, and we. It's gonna have a beginning, middle, and a end. It's going to use describing words, right? And it's going to describe people, places, and things. And we're going to tell how we feel in our writing. And it uses dialogue. So remember yesterday when I showed you my mastery exemplar model? This was a story called The Bull by Reese, and he's a second grader, and he wrote the story at the end of second grade, and this is how your writing should look like at the end of second grade. But for right now, let's look at what I want you to do. So I'm going to show you a rubric. So this is the highest score you can get, which is a 4. Okay, that's a 4 means excellent. So how do I get a 4? Well, your writing has to have a clear, lively description of your personal narrative. Okay, it has to be well organized and using features and paragraphs effectively. Remember how we talked about all those features? It relates events in the order that it happened and uses sequence words. Remember those sequence words we talked about? First, next, then. It has clear and well-described thoughts, feelings, ideas, and details. You can really tell that person's feelings. It uses fluid, varied, and realistic sentences that simulate voice. So just like how you were telling a story, you should be, your story, your written story should sound like if you were telling the story to someone orally. And is it free or almost free of errors? That means that your sentences make sense. And remember all those grammars that we're learning, those nouns, those plural nouns, those commas. We want it to be free or almost free of all those errors. And it's neat, legible, and appropriate to medium, right? Because if it's too messy, then your teacher can't read it. So, and that's where this is what I'm looking for this week for you boys and girls. I'm looking for you to get a 4. Now, if you don't do all of these, then it might be a 3, a 2, or a 1. And this week, I'm going to be taking you through the writing process. Oops. Right? So tomorrow we're going to start with our pre-write. We're just going to get all of our ideas down. And then we'll start the draft. We're just going to write our sentences. We're going to edit and revise. I'm going to help you do that. Your teacher should be helping you do that also. And then we're going to end it with our publishing. And that's when you write a final draft. Okay, that means it's all neat, free of error, and that's what you're going to turn in to your teacher to grade. And remember, the highest grade is a 4, and I already showed you how to get a 4. So this week, I'm going to walk you through the writing process to get us to writing a 4. And we're going to be practicing all this, all this year, so that by the end of second grade, your writing should look like Reese's writing, okay? So it does seem hard work, but I know that you can do it, boys and girls, because I know you, and you can do hard things, right? We don't say something's hard. We just say, I'm awesome, I'm smart, and I can do it. And boys and girls, like, write me a story and tell me what you're learning about. And if you do, don't forget to put your address so I can send you one of these fun activity books. Okay, so hopefully I get your address and your letter so I can send this to you. You guys are doing an awesome job. Don't forget to come back tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Morning to a brand new day, time to learn and games to play. Learning things is so much fun, learning is good for everyone.